I've got about 10 minutes of PowerPoint slides that are kind of sad to show compared to what Paul just talked about. And then we're going to be breaking for the day. I think Paul's going to be hanging around. If you need to get in touch with him and you somehow don't connect with him here, let us know. We'll get you his team's email address, contact details. As a little quick preview for tomorrow, we're going to have a billionaire fireside chat with Larry Namer. We're going to have 3 discussion panels on real estate, income investments, and trending allocations that family offices are making. About 30 different speakers on stage tomorrow. I think it's interesting, the more and more that we have people like pro athletes, billion-dollar family offices, the more we interview billionaires, the more that the trend of being a voracious learner and always sucking in new information comes up over and over again. I saw someone who manages tens of billions of dollars of real estate, and he said the most important real estate is the 6 inches between your ears, right? And so it all comes back to that, even though we all kind of know this stuff already, but it's like, how deep are you going to go with what mental models to really improve yourself? So in this talk here, it's a post I shared. Many of you are probably already subscribed to our Investor Club Insights newsletter. We started it in January and was scaled that up to 30,000 subscribers now via LinkedIn. We're sharing 1 or 2 posts a week about what we're learning running our investor club, what we have learned the last 17 years. I thought it was interesting that Paul's been in touch with us since then. As I stated earlier on the panel, I started as a blog, a hedge fund blog, and it turned into our business. So I'm going to go through the 15 quick things that we're doing in this economic environment during these kind of more volatile, unpredictable times to grow our business and scale it. And a lot of it relates to what Paul mentioned about what's most important. All right, first thing is when I started out the day, throughout the rest of the event, try not to think in a linear way, try to think about like what Paul's doing. Then you're more motivated on another level. Then you're combining all the different ideas throughout the whole event. Some of the slides here, if you've been in the club for a long time, you'll recognize a few of them from our old workshops. And we used to have more time to cover some of these topics during the capital raising workshops we used to host. But this first one here is from Jim Collins. And he basically says, you're not going to do well, you're not going to succeed, you're not going to be even top 10% if you don't do things that you're passionate about, can make you a lot of money, and also you have some natural advantage to it. Your experience, your DNA, your background lends yourself to it. Paul's able to make a huge impact for multiple reasons. Part of it is that he was able to build something substantial during his career and then refocus that energy and that influence he has now in the world. And Jim Collins calls this the Hedgehog Strategy. I layer on top of this, trying to figure out what's my biggest strength or unique ability, as Dan Sullivan would call it. Where's there the most future demand and where's there the least amount of current competition? It's not very fun to be in a space that's highly competitive and saturated. So doing something unique that's going to have inevitably much bigger demand and fits these 3 criteria is something I found really helps in navigating these types of environments. Paul talked about the 6 inches between your ears. Mark Cuban talks about outlearning and outworking everyone else in your niche. And Michael Bloomberg just said yesterday on LinkedIn that if you do something you love and you just do more and more of that thing you love, you're going to surpass everyone in your niche because you're actually passionate about it and you enjoy doing it. And that's connected to this slide and the last one. It's been scientifically proven the things we take in change what comes out on the other side. You know, listening to Paul hopefully changes a bit about how you think and what your impact is and maybe what's on your vision board at home, et cetera, right? That's the whole point of having people like Todd on stage yesterday during our Centimillionaire Fireside Chat or Paul today. And if I wasn't still finding the events fun and entertaining and educational, I wouldn't come myself, and we want to keep it that way for all of you here as well. Peter Thiel talks about how extreme focus is a superpower, and with social media and email threads and text message marketing you get, it becomes more challenging to focus every year, no matter who you are, but also as you have more employees and more LLCs and more K-1s to track, and more children or grandchildren, more opportunities coming at you, the more successful you are, the more things are coming at you, and the more making one mistake could be relatively costly. It could be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars for missing one notice or one deadline that you're supposed to meet. And so to hear from Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and also Peter Thiel that focus, or having the ability to have extreme focus is a superpower, I think is something for all of us to take note of, especially in a time like this, where things aren't maybe as easy for your business as maybe it was 2-3 years ago for some of you. Eben Pagan taught me early on in my career that if you're going to go fishing and you go to a lake, you could try to throw a spear at a fish or two swimming by, but if you study the lake and figure out where the waterfall is pouring into the lake and position yourself like a grizzly bear at the waterfall, that energy you spent up front to position yourself in the right spot where the salmon are jumping is going to allow you then to be more effective the rest of your time when you're fishing. And so looking at whatever environment you're in, whatever niche you're in, and figure out with extreme focus, what is that area that fits my 3 circles and the other criteria I suggested, and position yourself in a way that's powerful, that creates more leads coming towards you over and over again. That's what we're attempting to do with billionaires.com. That's what we're trying to do while running Family Office Club as well. And it should give you an unfair advantage over your former self if you're not doing this, or others in your niche who don't know themselves well enough to know their unique ability, don't make themselves be a voracious learner, and don't position themselves well to attract leads to you versus chasing leads. I brought this up on the first day as well. I had this theme starting during COVID to have the most fun year of my life, and figured when would I ever not want to have the most fun year of my life? But it's not just going on vacation nonstop. It's also not working with people that are not fun. It's not working with people that are just always stressed out or act like you owe them something every time you talk to them. It's not working with businesses that are unprofitable and you've tried and tried again, and if it's not fitting your 3 circles, then maybe you cut bait. And there's a saying that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, but Joe Polish taught me there's also a saying that the squeaky wheel just gets replaced. Sometimes a thing that's bothering you and always complaining, like, oh, just replace that part of your life or just cut it out completely. Brute force reciprocation is a strategy I talked about at our annual Super Summit in December, I think it was. This strategy has completely changed my life. I got my first job out of college, or in high school actually, by cold calling everybody in the Yellow Pages who was in the computer business. One guy gave me a job interview and he hired me to build websites for Indian companies. And he taught me how to do that and paid me $20 an hour to do that. And that was like in the 1990s, so it was a pretty good first job. When I got out of university, everyone wanted to pay me $36,000 a year because I went to Oregon State University. I didn't really want to do that, so I cold called everybody in the Chamber of Commerce in Portland, Oregon. One of them was an alum and gave me a meeting. I got meetings with 2 others. And she said, well, you need 7 years experience in the CPA designation if you want to work here. We can't hire you. And I said, well, I'll work for free. Just fire me in the first day if I can't do the work. I know I can. So she paid me half as much as the other consultants because I had no experience, and paid me $40 an hour my first job out of my undergrad, and I worked overtime and made $100K my first year out of my undergrad, which was more than my professors made when I graduated the month before, and they told me not to rush out of school. Over and over again, I did this to get into the capital raising industry, to interview billionaires, to build my blog, and the whole point here is that you can get things done you shouldn't be able to otherwise if you try 100 combinations of lots of different actions and you do it in a way that de-risks it for the other person, or you're adding value to the other person while you're trying all these combinations, and then one of them will work. And Mark Cuban says you only need it to work one time, and then you just keep on doing that thing that works, and you latch onto that. Giving away books written by billionaires by the dozen, or buying hundreds of books from a billionaire, gets their attention, and then sometimes they'll answer your 3 questions. And then you hold on to that strategy and use it again and again, et cetera. So this has worked over and over again. I'll talk on this again probably at our next event, because I know that some people have missed my talk on it before, and I feel like this one strategy is probably the most powerful out of all the 15 I'm sharing here. And knowing that it's a great equalizer, because most people don't want to do really hard work in a really focused area, but if you chose the right niche, it doesn't matter how long it takes. If you break through and figure it out, then your whole life and your whole business can change, right? You can make more of an impact on the world or do whatever you'd like. The next strategy here is around choke points. We've talked about this many times within our investor club. We've showed this image at our events for the last 15 years. Right now, it's a big conflict in the world. But if you have a strategic choke point for your business, everything else starts to go faster. You get momentum, you get distribution, you raise your sales, you lower your costs, you find what is the biggest pain point for you and all your competitors, and then you acquire the strategic resource that makes that easier, that makes that faster for you. We have a 70-minute webinar on this. I believe it's on our YouTube channel. It's one of our 800 plus videos on there. I know it's in our member portal. So if you're a member, check out our choke point webinar. It'll give you 20 examples of choke points that cost nothing. I started my business in the basement apartment in Harvard Square, and I had less money in my bank account than I had due for rent that month. So I didn't have the luxury of going around and spending millions of dollars on choke points. I had to do it with elbow grease and focus and determination and being creative. So I'd encourage you to do the same if you don't feel like you have resources. Being institutional quality, right now in a volatile time or during COVID, you're just gonna be shooting yourselves in the foot if you don't have things buttoned up. If you don't take yourself seriously, no one's gonna take you more seriously than you take your own deal. If you have an AOL email address, if you don't have at least a 3-page website, if you don't have a one-pager, if you don't have a one-liner, it shows that you don't care too much, but you're asking others to not only care with their time, but also their money. And their money, just a couple minutes of their time, is worth more than it would have cost you to button up your stuff and look institutional quality to some degree. And the more you can be a class act, just nice person, then the more people typically just want to work with you and really get to know who you are and trust you. This is before non-institutional quality. This is after institutional quality. I think Waikiki I saw in the room earlier, but that's his logo right there for CRE Construction Partners after we transformed it from dynastic development. So it's more clear what he does. It's more crisp, clean, more trustworthy. Invest in your health. I don't know how many decamillionaires, centimillionaires I know that eat Wendy's every day, but they own a Ferrari and will only take it to a special hand car wash station because they're worried about the car they're going to get bored of in 3 years and trade out for another car. But they don't treat their own self with the same respect. So obviously you should be investing in your health no matter what level of wealth you're at. And I came up with 28 ways that I'm experimenting on investing in my own health. Most of them cost almost nothing. If you want that, shoot me an email, just richard@investorclub.com, and I'll shoot you over the Google sheet. You can look at those 28 ways. One of them is getting an MRI every year or two, and they can identify tumors, cancer, and all these different diseases and problems early. Most things you can treat if you find it early, right? So that's just one example of how to invest in your health. Arnold Schwarzenegger has a great book. I read it to my kids. It's called Be Useful. He also has a great documentary on Netflix. I love it. And the opening line of the documentary is that I've always been really good at getting a crystal clear vision of what I want to do in life. And it's so clear in my mind that I'll just work really hard until I make it happen. And while the documentary is 3 hours long, that one sentence I think is one of the most important points, and they put it first for a reason. It's not an accident he became Mr. Universe, not an accident that he became a leading man and the highest paid male movie star at the time. It was because he had a crystal clear vision of it, and only because of that did he make it happen. So you have to ask yourself, how crystal clear is your vision during a time like this where the economy is volatile? Because you can't expect it to happen if you don't even know yourself what you want to have happen. How are other people going to help you on your way? How are you even going to help yourself, right? Jeff Hoffman became a billionaire by creating a check-in kiosk at the airport. He's one of the early investors in Booking.com and Priceline.com. He said that he had sticky notes on his mirror reminding him of his top goals. I have this one-pager I talk about quite often in the club of my goals, monthly, quarterly, annual goals, and all these one-liner mental programming statements. I read it in the morning, so I go out in the world and I know what to say yes, no to very quickly, and I'm reminded about my goals. So easy to be distracted, especially with a fire hose of 120 speakers on stage, a million ideas you're trying to digest. And so reminding yourself of these is really important. 1 or 2 slides left and we're all done. Every private equity firm that I know that manages 500 million or a billion plus, they originate deals systematically. They say, we want to acquire stem cell centers. Let's identify all 180 of them in the state of Texas where we're focused, make a spreadsheet, get their contact details, and let's go meet them in person, reach out to them systematically. No family offices I know do that. Not a single one, not even the billionaires. Every private equity firm does it. Almost no private equity firms under 500 million do this, or they only do it part-time, and you can do it for a couple $1,000s per year. So I highly encourage you to do this. We've done it and closed many deals from doing so. Last slide here is that throughout the whole event, I want to emphasize that you're not really competing against others if you're here. You're really competing against your former self and trying to reach further into your potential. So having a clear vision, using choke points, making things institutional quality, connecting with potential investors here, meeting accountability partners here, and treating this investor club as a perpetual learning machine for yourself, I hope leads us to a lot of growth and things that you didn't expect. Like most investor clubs don't talk about investing in your health and being ultra healthy. And I hope you pick up so many different things that in a unique combination just for you you feel like it was an amazing investment of your time, even more so than your money, of being here. So tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to give 2 short 10-minute talks tomorrow, just like this one. We're going to have 30 investors on stage. We're going to do a billionaire fireside chat, have some great panels. We have cocktails that just started serving a couple of minutes ago outside, so please enjoy that, enjoy the networking. Appreciate you being here today, and don't forget, we have 2 masterminds at the end of June, 2 at the end of July, and then our single-family office summit here in New York in October, and our annual event down in South Florida at the Ritz-Carlton in Key Biscayne in December. So I hope you had a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. when we get started again. Thank you.
Join the Family Office Club by visiting familyoffices.com. We look forward to seeing you at our next live event.